This week on Sib Riv.
We had over 200 views between YouTube and Spotify for the first week, which is very good for a new podcast. Hopefully that 200 will be 200,000 before long.
And then 200 million.
Billion, trillion.
Right.
We're dreamers in this family.
Of how I came to choose this particular topic. So.
Oh no.
What?
I forgot to hit record.
No, you didn't. We're recording.
I'm like, you're recording. I see it.
Welcome back to episode 2 of Sib Riv. I am Dana, and I'm joined here by my lovely co-hosts, who also happen to be my siblings.
I'm Michelle. I'm the little sister. That's me, Michelle. Also known as Shelly.
And I am Dave, the oldest.
Excellent. How are you guys doing this week?
Good. Time change, though, is kicking my butt. But good.
Yeah. It's nice to have the extra daylight, though.
It is.
It is. I agree.
I'm liking the nicer weather. I'm getting out on my walks, which is great to be outside, get some, vitamin D from the sun. Oh, I love this time of year.
You guys get any feedback from friends or family about episode 1?
I had a friend tell me that we're very well spoken. And that she liked it, but that was feedback. Because I asked my friends at work, I'm like, give me feedback. I want to know, how am I? Am I super awkward?
How about you, Dave?
Not really, but I haven't done a very good job of promoting the fact that I'm doing a podcast to the people I know, because I don't want them to feel obligated to listen.
Oh, well, I can tell you've had some people listen because they commented in the YouTube comments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I saw that as well.
That's great.
Overall, I've gotten some pretty great feedback from episode 1. So let's hope we can keep that train rolling. If you guys are interested in the numbers, we had over 200 views between YouTube and Spotify for the first week, which is very good for a new podcast. Hopefully that
nice.
200 will be 200,000 before long.
And then 200 million.
Yeah. Billion, trillion.
Right.
We're dreamers in this family.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to aim high. If you don't aim high and don't shoot for it, you'll never get there.
That's true.
Yeah. Like Coach Boone said, you got to shoot for perfection.
That's right.
You always miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. All right. So I am going to introduce you guys to a new segment this week. We'll do it every now and then.
It's time for Dana's Clip of the Week.
Okay, so I was just scrolling through the interwebs and going through some shorts, and I found this one. And I said, I got to get the sibling reaction to this. So I'm very curious if this is going to make Dave long to return to Boston, or give Shell nostalgia about being bounced on everybody's knee when she was a toddler. So,
oh, no. Let's see it.
Trot to Boston, trot to Lynn. Watch out for the puddle or you might fall in. Trot to Boston, trot to Dover. Better watch your step or you might fall over. You gotta see the beach here in Revere. Although the water is not that super clear, you gotta trot to Haverhill in Old True Town. You gotta party in Worcester, that's where it's going down. You do some shopping at the Native Mall. You gotta go to Mount Wachusett if you wanna feel tall. You gotta take a hike out here in Hampshire County. You do all of these things, you are a certified townie. Trot to Boston, trot to Lynn. Watch out for the puddle or you might fall in. Trot to Boston, trot to Dover. Better watch your step or you might fall over.
So that's courtesy of Boston Uncovered. Shout out to Jeremy Honig, who made that
That's
show.
gonna be stuck in my head all day.
Yeah.
All right, so I want the reaction.
Trot to Boston.
What'd you think, Dave?
Do you want to trot on over?
It makes me feel nostalgic, definitely. But yeah.
It was cracking me up all day yesterday just thinking about it.
Oh my god!
So that was Dana's clip of the week. So every time
Very
I find some funny clips that I want to torture my siblings with, I'll
Love it.
I'll introduce you guys to that. Okay, so we can remove that from my list. Okay, so Shelly, we're going to turn it over to you to introduce this week's topic.
All right, so this week was I called it Movie Monday because I love alliteration. We watched Remember the Titans, which is my all-time favorite movie. It is based on a true story. I like to think that everything that is said and every scene was a real life thing, but obviously it is not. But you know, when you're younger, and I was like in high school watching this, I legit thought that like based on a true story meant like, yes, everything, this is word for word what happened, but it's still my favorite movie. I just love it. So for those that do not know, I have a little synopsis here. Based on a true story, in 1971, Virginia High School football was everything to the people of Alexandria, but when the school board was forced to integrate an all-black school with an all-white one, the foundation of football's tradition was put to the test. So you guys watched it, yes?
Yes, we did.
Yes, I did.
What do you guys think?
Dana,
Did
you
you
want to
okay,
go first?
first, did you like it?
Yes, I liked it.
I liked it
Dana?
as well. I'll be honest. I was going into it not knowing how I was going to feel about it,
Really?
because I don't know if it's because it was made by Disney and I thought it was going to be cheesy and lame. I don't know, but I was even though there's other Disney sports movies I've loved, but I didn't like it. It definitely made me feel some kind of way. I didn't. Yeah, I did. I liked it a lot actually.
Yeah, it was passed over like through a lot of different companies, and Walt Disney, like the chairman, read it and was like, we need to make this movie. But it was passed over multiple times, like no one wanted to make this movie.
I actually didn't know it was a Disney movie until like I was holding the Blu-ray in my hands. So the most striking thing about this whole movie to me was, oh, this came from a time when Disney movies actually had a little bit of heart. And I don't want to be too critical, but it does feel to me like modern entertainment in general, Disney in particular, has not put out a whole lot of stuff that has a lot of heart behind it. That's just my perspective. So
I didn't know it was made by Walt Disney until I also put the DVD in today. Because again,
Really?
I just look at a movie very like I never look at directors who writes it. I just know if I like it or not. I'm not like I don't read too deep into movies. Like Mike has a favorite director, he's got favorite writers, favorite studios. I don't have that. I just I like what I like. I'm pretty simple, I think, in that way. So yeah, I was a little surprised when I saw it. I was like, oh, this is a Disney movie, but I love it. It still is my favorite movie. I've watched it twice this week. I watched it again last night.
I also totally forgot that a very young Ryan Gosling was in it.
Yes. Yeah, he was
Completely underutilized. Excellent actor.
Yeah, he was like 18, I think, when this
Yeah, that's
movie
true.
came out.
No one knew what he was going to be yet.
Yeah. I mean, and Denzel, I mean, this was like I'll like ask you guys about cast later and stuff, but I think this is perfectly cast. I love everything about this movie. I have one thing. It's not like a nitpick or anything. But I have one question later on as like we get into it of like why would they not think that this would be a problem? But we'll get to that. Yeah, so do you guys want to know why it's my favorite movie?
Yes, of course.
yes, of course.
I mean, who doesn't love a story that has like a happily ever after? I love that this is a true story because it just gives you a little bit of hope that, the world will continue to evolve. So it's easy to root for this team. In the players themselves, I love it. I have all my notes written down here, which is why I keep looking over. I love when people can put away their egos and their pride and look at the bigger picture. It's a little less selfish, and I feel like a lot of these players had to do that. And again, this is based on true life, so real people had to do that. So I love that aspect of it, and I just love that we give each other the grace to change and grow as people. Like a lot of these, like the white school kids, like they had to do a lot of growing. The black kids had to do a lot of growing, and allowing them to get each like let to get people to know each other, like really exchange their ideas and challenge each other, but they both grew from it. And I just love that in real life. So watching it in a movie that was based on real life, I just love it. And football is my favorite sport, so again, easy to watch, easy to root for.
My first thought when I watched this movie was, I can't believe Dave and Shelley wanted to watch this before they watched my favorite movie, saying my favorite movie was going to be problematic for the podcast because of the political statement. And here we are diving right off the bat into a movie about racism.
I know. You know what, though? Like, and
Right,
we don't
well,
have to get super political. I want
no.
this to be like a happy-go-lucky thing, but
this leads
it does
into
make me think.
this leads into one of my hot takes that this movie is not a football movie at all. It's really
No, it's about the
it's
people.
really yeah, it's a movie that uses football as a tool or as a vehicle through which to tell the story. But I mean, I think it was like 27 or 28 minutes before there's even a snap of football played in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to what you were talking about everyone kind of overcoming with each other, and then just they go to the camp, they go through this experience, the shared experience together. They finally start to bond and come together. And then they're inserted back into town, into the reality of the world they're living in. And it's like you're starting from like square one all over again.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really interesting way of telling the story, I thought.
But I think
It was also true to life.
Yeah. And they had the foundation of what they had in camp. So like even when there were fights in the school, like I'm thinking of the scene where Gary and Julius, they were not on good terms. Gary didn't go to the Berg and didn't play basketball, and then they had this game they weren't playing well. Petey's talking to this other guy's girlfriend. They get in a fight in the hall, and Gary and Julius are the ones that still break it up, even though they're not on the best of terms. They still had that foundation of like, why are we doing this? And like, why are we fighting? Let's break this up. I thought that was, I just love it. I can't say enough about this movie. I could go on and on and on.
Yeah, I'd definitely say Gary and Julius's friendship was probably the heart. I felt like it was like the heart of the movie. As much as Disney wanted you to think it was Hayden Panettiere's character, which is the most pointless character of the movie. Another hot take I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just that character, Hayden Panettiere's character is so pointless in this movie. First off,
Well,
I understand it's Disney, but like I'm 100% positive that Coach Yost did not take life advice or coaching advice from his 8-year-old daughter or whatever.
I know you're talking about at the end.
Yeah, I mean, just throughout the movie,
prideful. Yeah.
throughout the movie, she's trying to be like this. They're trying to use her as like the children truth told through the eyes of children or whatever. But it's like not. I mean, come on, I have 3 kids. Kids are not that wise. I know we all thought we were wise when we were kids, but we really weren't.
Yeah. Well, what did you guys like about it, and what did you not like about it?
Do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
So what I liked the way. So like Dana, I agree. This to me wasn't really a sports movie. It just football was the backdrop of telling a different story, which I still think is a good thing. What I liked about the way the story was sort of constructed was I liked that we were following not just between the two coaches, but also Julius and Bertier. Like those were sort of the two primary focal points of the movie, and that's what I liked about it, getting to see both of those processes, I guess, play out. Um, like Dana, I also agree. I thought Hayden Panettiere's character was, to me, it felt like she was kind of pointless to the narrative, but was there just to kind of add flavor to it all. Um, overall, I mean, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite sports movies, but I definitely think it was a good quality movie, like worth a watch. You know, I'm happy that I'd heard about it because I've known that it's like Shelley's favorite movie, but I've never actually sat down to watch it. So
I definitely understand why it's your favorite movie.
Yeah.
yeah, I do
Yeah.
too. It matches up, I think, with your personality of, you know, like you were saying earlier, that idea that people can put aside their own like biases and interests, like, you know, for the greater good. I think that lines up with who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, guys. What was your favorite scene?
For me, it was what was the quarterback's name? The new kid that came
Sunshine?
on. Sunshine.
Sunshine.
When Sunshine told his lineman, like, just let him through with that opposing player that was wrecking them in that game, and he just dumped him. That was probably my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was,
Seeing
that
Julius,
was
another
nice.
scene where Julius picks up Gary's mother. It's like giving her a bear hug and
Yeah.
picking her up. That was
Oh,
pretty funny,
yeah,
too.
that's a good one. That's good.
I was a little the way they told the story towards the end, right? So, do you want to set up the end scene for everyone, Shelley? Like the final game?
Yeah, so
Or-
they're playing like this undefeated team. He's been to like 30 championships in his career. They had set the goal that they were going to get to this point. So they're there, and it's like still a close game, but they're not playing that well. And it just seems there's actually a line where it says like they're a mile ahead of us, and it was like they were playing from behind the whole time.
Mhm.
And then they go into halftime, and that's kind of when things, you know, I think that's finally when they are like, even the coaches are 100%, they have come together for this common goal, and put aside all their whatever issues they still had internally. I think that was like the defining moment for those coaches. And then they come back out, and you know, they play to win, and they do. I won't spoil it. Win. They go undefeated.
Yeah. And the backdrop to that final scene is the school board telling Coach Yost that their intention is to fire Coach Boone, who's Denzel Washington's character. That they were basically setting him up to fail, right? They wanted him to lose so they could fire him. So they were purposely, like, basically bribing the refs or whatever to get them to call against the Titans the whole game. And so what kind of bothered me was how long it took Coach Yost to actually say something about it and do something about it. Like, I feel like real life, if he had been told that, he probably would have immediately acted on it and done something about it. So it felt like they, you know, it's. I mean, I understand it's a story. It's part of the story. I wonder in real life if this had been some of an issue in real life if he had said something sooner. Because to hold on to that for like most of the game before you finally say something and speak up about it and say something to the refs about it was kind of ridiculous.
I think for that time, though, because I wrote down that I think that was Coach Yost's defining moment, was when he saw the impact of how his daughter was going to react, because they were calling they weren't calling the game fairly. I just think you could see him like taking count for everything that was going to impact, and I think that was his defining moment of like, it doesn't really matter anymore because this isn't right. Like, these kids have worked too hard it wasn't about him at that time, and I think he finally realized that like it's the kids, they're playing. Why am I involved in it at all? I thought that was his defining moment.
Anything to say about that, Dave?
I understand what Dana's saying about in real life, would he have waited that long? I do think it was probably just a narrative device, and like Shell was saying, giving the audience a chance to see his character kind of look around and take stock of everything and then complete his journey in, a somewhat dramatic way. Because it is Hollywood when you get right down to it, right? Like, and I'm sure in real life, if that part was actually based in fact, that, the refs had been paid off in that actual game that was played to, make sure that the Titans lost. I'm sure the sequence of events didn't actually play out the way the movie depicted it, right? So I give the movie a little bit of grace for that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what this movie's all about, giving each other a little bit of grace. Did you guys have any favorite lines? I love when Julius Campbell goes, "I don't give a hoot." Like, nice to quote that to each other.
I love like when Yost is trying to talk to Coach Boone in the Gettysburg camp. Like, that's why I clipped this scene. Yeah, like, I just love it. He's like staring at him, and he's just blowing the whistle for them to do the up downs.
Oh yeah,
and he's like kind of like laughing about it. Like Coach Yost is like trying to talk to him. I don't know. I thought that was funny.
Yep. There's a fine line. I forget what he says. There's a fine line between. I forget the line. Ugh, whatever.
But
and that was.
Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, Dave. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that was one thing that, when Yost was trying to get through to Boone, like, you have to ease up a little bit. It was frustrating me that Boone wouldn't listen. So I was glad that they put that scene in with Boone and his wife, where he's like, "Am I just being blinded by my own ambition?" Like, it was nice to see that, they had a scene where Boone himself had a little bit of reflection on like why he was doing and coaching the way that he was. And, so that was, there were no particular like favorite lines that came out, but that, that was a scene that I really appreciated.
The favorite line is when Gary's like, "Oh boy, you're gonna need a new haircut." When he's like giving, I think it's his buddy Roy there, a hard time. I just love like a lame comeback. I just love it. I love a lame. I don't know the word. Like, it makes me laugh every time because it's just so dumb. What did you guys think was most impactful, whether like in the movie or just made you think of like the times that we're in? And was there anything that made you guys think? Because there were a couple lines that I noticed this time around. Again, when I was a kid, teenager watching this, I did not. I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. It's a full movie. I love it. Older Michelle now has different perspectives. So there were a couple of lines that stood out to me. So I just wondered if you guys caught any of those.
I mean, honestly, like the whole movie is kind of like a scary how like here we go again. It's scary how like the movie is reflective of even issues that still happen today. I mean that's what stuck out to me as I was watching it. I was like, wow, I can't believe it feels like at times we're going through some of this all over again.
Yeah, I thought Denzel's speech at Gettysburg, where he said, they were fighting the fight that we're still fighting amongst ourselves today. I thought that. I was like, wow, we're still doing that today.
Still.
Yeah.
Still.
I thought the line at the end where Yost says, you've taught us to trust the soul of a person versus the color of their skin. I thought that was really impactful. I was like, wow, like we need that lesson now. I feel like, and not just about color, just about, you can put that on anything, right? You really got to look deep into a person. It's not about the outside, it's about what's inside. So that was my other one. Can we talk about Gary Bertier's mom for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, this poor woman, her husband, I assume, has passed, right? Because she says the line, like, if your father was still here. Then her son gets in an accident. And then, spoiler, Gary Bertier, he dies in real life and in the movie. This poor woman, I just felt really bad for her. So sad.
Mm.
Yeah. Is there anything else
I mean,
that?
I felt bad for Bertier himself. You know, he gets paralyzed, and then 10 years
Yeah.
later, he's killed by a drunk driver.
Yeah, crazy.
You know, I
You
mean,
know,
that's
I don't know if he was killed by a drunk driver. What I've read
That's-
is that he was with a drunk driver.
Oh.
Or yeah,
Oh,
because
see,
that's
I
how
read
it
said
is
was
at the end of
it
the
was like a
movie.
thing I
He
read
was
said was
killed
like
in a drunk driving accident. I think the details are a little.
Hmm.
I don't think they know all the details of that,
Hmm.
from what I could read.
Hmm.
Could you guys see anyone else playing these characters?
So I have I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think Denzel Washington is a great actor, but he's one of those actors that has such a presence and such a personality that every movie I see him in, I see not the character, but Denzel Washington, right? So whether it's Courage Under Fire, Training Day, Remember the Titans, it seems to me like I'm watching Denzel Washington. Like,
Interesting.
I was watching the Enforcer coach football.
The what?
The Enforcer. Probably Denzel Washington's greatest series of movies. I mean, what are you talking about?
The Enforcer. Is that from a?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Movie?
Oh my god. The Equalizer. I'm sorry. The Equalizer.
Oh! I love the Equalizer movies. I thought you were talking about Training Day because I have never seen Training Day.
I just created a new movie out of thin air. Maybe we should finance that. Denzel, give me a call.
No,
what
he
about
had
besides Denzel?
Well, it's crazy because he commands like any scene he's in, he commands the screen. So it's like you can't help it. You can't, you know what I mean? Like
he overshadows everybody.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I can't picture anyone else playing him. Playing Boone, I mean.
You know, I was trying to think about someone that could play that role. I mean, Jamie Foxx maybe has kind of a wide range, but I don't even know if he could play that role. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't really think of someone else that would fill that role. But also the way the role was written, it kind of is Denzel. You know what I mean? Like a commanding presence that, you know.
They wrote it with him in mind.
Yeah, I mean, so I can't imagine anyone. I honestly can't really think of anyone else that really could play that role. It was
because you gotta find someone that like. Boone is hard on those kids. Like there are times where you're like, "Oh my god, guy, like relax a little bit." So it's hard, but yet you're still rooting for him. So you have to find that balance. I don't know if anyone else has that where like you like him and you respect him, but you're also like, "All right, dude, like chill. But I'm still gonna root for you." You know.
You know what's interesting? One thing that struck me about the movie is like how much, in some ways, society has really changed. In that, you know, like when he said, "All right, let's go to war," right? Like football, I think has always been talked about in terms of like going to war. You know, Vince Lombardi has that quote about, you know, lying exhausted on the battlefield, like, you know, comparing that to the end of a football game. And I just kept thinking back to when Tom Brady made that comparison between football and war, and everybody got offended.
I remember that. Well,
And I'm skating dangerously close to like social commentary and politics, but I don't think this movie, if it was made by Disney today, would come out the same way or be of the same quality as it was back in 2000.
Interesting.
Because I think in some ways we have, you know, yes, we're still fighting the same fights. In some ways, we're a lot more aware. Like the average person, I think, is a lot more aware of, you know, these concepts of like injustice and, you know, racism and all that stuff. But in a lot of ways, it seems to me that we have dumbed down the conversation and that there's no room for dialogue. There's no room for an actual conversation. It's, you have to support this current narrative and that's it. So I think the movie in that sense would have, if it was remade, I don't want to put any ideas on Hollywood's head because I'm sure they'll get around to remaking it at some point. I don't think it would be nearly as good as it stands on its own right now.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. Have you guys ever had a coach or teacher like either one of those, or have you ever been part of a team that
Well,
that you had to come together the way they did?
I mean, the only organized sports that I ever played as a kid was Little League, which, my Little League coach was not a tyrant by any means. And then, I think I ran cross country my freshman year. And I remember our coach, he would drive alongside in the van during our 4-mile practice
You
runs.
ran cross country?
I was my freshman year.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I tried to run cross country because I wanted to be like Dana, but I could not run still can't run to save my life. Hate it. I do
Yeah.
not enjoy it. I get shin splints. It's horrible. But that's so
to
funny.
answer your actual question, yeah, I don't think I've ever had a coach in either of those that was like demanding or pushing you. I mean, it was more of like a supportive kind of thing, I would say.
How about a boss?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was in the military, so I had,
Oh, right.
I've had a few bosses that were, and not just like shouting orders, but actually like setting an expectation of, you need to hit this level. And again, kind of going back to how our society has changed, I'm a manager now. Like you can't you can't really set and communicate those expectations that way of telling someone straight up the effort you're putting in is not up to where it needs to be and you need to improve. I think, and maybe this is just my experience, but that would not go over well in today's society. You'd probably be out of a job if, as a manager, you were to actually say that to somebody, even if it was justified.
Yeah, that's when HR gets involved right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dana, how about you? I know you've done a couple sports, karate. Yeah. How about you?
I mean, I couldn't help but think about Mr. Owens when I was watching this.
Really?
Yeah, Mr. Owens, not Mr. Owen, who was the football coach and gym teacher, but Mr. Owens, who was the science teacher and my track and field coach.
Yeah.
He coached, I think when we were in high school, he coached freshman basketball as well, but he was definitely very demanding of us. I'm sure my friends and family know that I was one of the best runners in the state back then, so he was, in high school, he was very demanding of me personally, but he also had a lot of faith and belief in me and other members of my team too, and he always pushed me to be better, so I couldn't help but think about him as I was watching this movie too, and the effect he had on me. I remember when we did the for National Honor Society, which is not just academics, it's about character and, charity. And when I was in National Honor Society, we hosted a dinner for the incoming members, and every member of National Honor Society would ask someone that was very important to them in their life to be their guest for the dinner. And I asked him. I remember he cried when I asked him. He was so honored. He wrote all my college recommendation letters, and I mean the things he wrote about. I mean, no one's ever talked about me and how dedicated and how much of a hard worker I was, and like how much integrity I had. I'd never heard anyone speak about me the way he spoke about me. He was very impactful, very helpful, very encouraging, but also extremely tough, very demanding. I mean, if you goofed around, you were getting yelled at, and so he didn't put up with a lot. So he was kind of like this blend of Coach Yost and Coach Boone in one. And also in a crazy way, it was my kickoff, my introduction to him was not a really good one. Like he clashed a lot when I first got into high school. And I didn't like him very much. And as it turned out, he was like one of the favorite people I dealt with after I graduated. He passed away several years after I graduated. He had cancer, leukemia, and
I was in high school when he passed away.
It was hard on me because I was very close to him when I was in high school. So sure, it was hard on my other track and field friends too that were close to him as well. And I promised myself I wasn't going to cry, so I'm not going to.
You know what? Talking about crying, I cried 6 times watching this movie. That's how many times I tear up, because it does make you think about things now that we're older, again, younger Michelle was like, oh my God, I love this movie. I'm going to watch it 9 times in one day because I just like, I get sad when it's over and Gary dies and I need to rewatch it. But as a older, wiser, no, just kidding. As an older person, it just makes you think a little bit more about your life and the world, how we grew up, just it makes you think a little bit more. I've never had a Coach Boone or Yost. I've had dance teachers that were super impactful, but not in the way that, these coaches were.
That's what I thought you were going to say was Marie and Diane, but
Yeah, I mean, I love them. And they're a huge part of, my love for dance. And, there's a lot of memories there. I it's like going home when I'm there at the dancing school. And, Marie always had a saying, we can teach you to dance, but we can't teach you how to care. And I like that comes with me now, even at work. Like I can teach someone how to do something, but I can't teach them to care about it. And that's all. I thought about her a lot during this movie just because of that. Like they can teach football, but they can't teach them to like figure it out and work together outside of the field, which would in fact help the field. And I just thought that was really interesting that you can teach anyone anything, but you can't teach them to care about it, which is like a good life lesson, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Really?
Yeah, I think hot take time, I guess. I think I think it is possible to teach somebody to care. Like looking at the movie, Coach Yost had to teach his players how to integrate, and the way he could do that was by, kind of working with Coach Boone. And, there were the scenes in the movie where, Boone said to him, like, I'm not going to let you undercut my authority as the coach. Yost, he has a decision. Like he can accept his role as defensive coordinator and, by his example, by working under the new coaching system, he can set that example for his players for them to do the same thing. Because the reality is, we know from the beginning of the movie, all of Yost's players were very loyal to him. So if he had said, F this, I'm not doing this, they would have been out. They never would have bought in. So I think it is possible. You can't make somebody care. You can't say the magic word and make them suddenly care. But I think over time, you can get people to buy into what it is you're trying to achieve. And in that sense, you actually can teach somebody to care. That's just my thought on it.
That's interesting.
Life lessons from Dave Scott. Not many that I would tell people to follow, but that one may not be such a bad one.
But is getting the buy-in and getting someone to care the same?
I think so. I do. When you get right down to it, when you take out all the BS and get right down and drill down to it, really comes down to actually giving a damn. And I think a real leader, an effective leader, would be able to do that. And I'm sure there's always going to be some exceptions. Like there are always those people that are not wanting to hear it. They're not going to buy in. But for the most part, I think that's what makes a leader a good leader, is that they're able to, their vision, they're able to share it among everybody else that they're trying to, get on board with accomplishing. And that's how people buy in.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, even in the movie, there was that one that didn't buy in. That was Ray.
He's one of those people. Right? He
in.
never bought in. That was one thing I actually appreciated about the movie, is that, they made a very specific point to include him in a lot of scenes, and he did a great job just through his body language and his facial expression of like, he is not in this at all. So I thought that was actually a nice touch of the movie, that, it wasn't all, we're all coming together and it's lollipops and rainbows and everybody's on board. Like, I think it added to that sense of impact and realism that there actually was somebody that was like, nope, you are not changing my mind. You are not changing my heart. I am not, and he had to be cut.
Yeah.
So,
Dana, what were you going to say?
Yeah, it was just David's little speech there was making me think about a different movie, Prefontaine, which is the premier track and field movie. But there's a scene in it. I don't know if it ever happened in real life, but when Prefontaine first went into college, University of Oregon, he was running the mile. And Coach Bill Bowerman, who was a legendary college track and field coach, was telling him, trying to encourage him to start running the 3 mile because he felt like he would do better. And one thing he said to him was, nobody cares about the 3 mile. And the coach said to him, give him a reason to care. So as Dave was making his little speech, it was making me think about that.
That's true.
Give people a reason to care. And if you watch Remember the Titans, the team gave the town a reason to care about all the about all the players.
Yes.
So
and Boone, gave the players a reason to care about each other by like making them get to know each other as like another actual human being, right?
Except for one, apparently.
Except for one.
Yeah. Which I'm sure there were many in, because even now there are people that don't buy in. I'm going to quote, So I thought that Ray really needed to be there to help push that story line along as well. What do you guys think of the music in this movie? I mean, I love classic rock, but every song, the thing I love about this movie is that every scene is needed. Like there's not one scene that I'm like, why is this in here? It doesn't do anything for the story. That's my other reason why I love this movie. But the music
soundtrack,
I thought is perfect too.
Soundtrack's pretty great, and the score itself was pretty good too.
I think it was interesting because it made me think of my favorite movie, which we will eventually talk about. And part of what I think is similar, they're very different movies, right? But my favorite movie and Remember the Titans, I think, are similar in that the soundtrack absolutely fits every single scene. And the score itself is incredible and adds to the mood of the movie. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say something else and I forgot. Oh, my one thing that I'm like, why? I guess this is a scene that I don't quite understand. When they had just won their first game and the team is out on the town and Petey goes in on defense and like saves the day. And then Ryan Gosling's character is kind of held back a little bit. He's kind of bummed. And then Sunshine is like, oh, let's go in here. Dinner's on me. And Petey's like, no, like they don't want me in there. And he's like, no, that's in the past. Why would Sunshine think that was in the past? Knowing
because he was from the implication was he was
day of school went.
He was from California.
He's from California.
Where is much more accepting at the time.
Okay. Yeah. So even though he's realizing first day of school,
everything in his view is from his experience in California, not from his experience in Alexandria.
Okay, because that was my only thing of like, why would he think that it's not an issue when clearly you just went through a camp and saw this, separation. You're seeing all these people, boycotting the school. Like, I didn't understand why he didn't see that. And again, he's a teenager, so I guess that could be the excuse of that. But that was well, thank you guys for that. So it was just because he was from California.
Yeah, naivety from not knowing any better.
Yeah,
his environment.
I was gonna say one other thing, and now I've just lost it. But anyway, what else you guys want to talk about?
Well, I just want to say I didn't realize that football was your favorite sport, Shelley. So I have failed as a big brother because it's supposed to be hockey. Have you seen Any Given Sunday?
No.
Oh, if football's your favorite sport, I think that's a movie you definitely need to watch. It's 3 hours long.
Sunday?
Yeah.
It's like
definitely.
It's like the Godfather of football movies.
But it is definitely worth watching.
Okay.
I'm not saying it will be your new favorite movie, but it's definitely, if you like football, I think you will definitely really appreciate it as long as it is.
I mean, I know Miracle, right, is based on a hockey team. True story, I think.
Yes.
I can put that in the watch list as well if that'll make you feel better to get hockey,
Well, I haven't seen
Miracle. I've never
I haven't seen Miracle, but Yeah, any given Sunday, it's got Cameron Diaz, Al Pacino, Jamie Foxx, James Woods,
Oh,
LL
wow.
Cool J, whole bunch of big
If you-
ensemble cast.
If you can
Yeah.
picture Al Pacino as a coach.
Oh,
I think he pulls it off.
Hoo-ah!
is Al Pacino the guy that's in Heat? The Heat,
Yes.
Yes.
like that? Yeah. Okay. I have seen that movie. Surprisingly,
You know what David hasn't seen? Field of Dreams.
What?
Yeah.
You've
I've
never seen Field of Dreams?
That was exactly how our brother reacted. Yeah. When I told him.
If you build it, they will come. What do
Yeah,
you
I know
mean
the
you
line.
haven't seen it?
I know
It's
the
one of the most
line. I haven't
iconic
seen
baseball
it.
movies. He hasn't seen it.
Oh, that's another one where it's not really about the sport. It's about the relationship between father and son. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, if the end scene doesn't make you cry, I don't know what is wrong with you, David.
seriously.
Well,
I've seen that movie probably 100 times. That last scene still makes me cry. Because I don't know, anyone that's ever had like a longing for a true father-son relationship is gonna have that feeling.
I'm trying to think. There's not
David,
too
you
many
have to
movies
watch it.
that. There's not too many movies that have brought a tear to my eye. Glory is
cried
one
at
of them.
everything.
Glory.
Another Denzel.
I was thinking
Washington movie.
about that movie too when we were watching this because
Yeah.
that's like one of my favorite Denzel movies.
Yeah, that's definitely a good movie to
I've
watch.
never seen that movie.
We got to give you some culture.
Here's a little bit of fun fact for you. Did you all know that Rockland produced half of the shoes worn by the Union Army during the Civil War?
Not surprising with all the shoe factories we
Yeah,
have.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, we live across the street from a shoe factory back in the day.
I think we did. Now it's a bunch
Yeah.
of condominiums, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, one little tidbit about the movie. Just the actors really went through football training. They went through like a football camp for 2 weeks before they started shooting.
Nice.
I thought that was really interesting. I don't think I could survive a football camp. It's a lot of burpees and running
Yeah.
and throwing your body all over. I couldn't do it, but what else you
Well,
want to talk about?
Overall, it was a good movie. Are we going to give it a rating?
Oh, do you want to give it a rating? I mean, you can. Nothing's going to change
We're
my
gonna have
mind.
like a
This is
s-
my
we're gonna
ultimate.
have
You
like
guys
a-
could.
we're gonna have
you
a
guys
Sib
could have
Riv
said you hated it, and I still
Sib
would
Riv
love
score?
the movie.
We could keep it simple. Like we could give the SibRiv seal of approval. Or
I think we all kind of gave it that. If you haven't seen Remember the Titans, make sure you go see it. It's really important.
Yeah,
And it's Michelle's favorite movie. Come on.
it's
favorite
well,
movie.
And then come back here, like, subscribe, and comment how much you loved it. At some point, we'll have an episode where we discuss, and we can break this up into different areas, but we can discuss like the top 5 sports movies. But in order for that to happen, David is going to have to see Field of Dreams.
why do you
Michelle's
think it
going
would
to
end up in the
have to
top
see
5?
Miracle, because Field of Dreams would certainly be in my top 5 of
Okay.
sports movies.
It is so good. Mike doesn't like it.
He doesn't like it.
No. I'm like, do you have a heart? Is it in there? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, like, what's the difference between us and Mike, me and David and Mike? He had a dad growing up.
He did. That is true.
That's true.
That is probably why he had a
that
very
is-
good dad.
I'm a sucker. I'm a
Dad's
sucker
a
for
very good
anyone
dad.
that had, whenever there's a movie that has like a son and a father with a bad relationship and they somehow overcome it, or they never had one and all of a sudden they get to have one in some small way. I'm a sucker for those stories. The Rookie. I mean, David, you said you hadn't seen The Rookie. Shelley, did you go come with me to see The Rookie with Dennis Quaid?
Oh yeah, I forgot about. He's like the older pitcher, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
about Jim
I
Morris,
forgot
who was a
about that
major league
movie.
pitcher. He was a high school baseball coach. His kid's going
Yeah.
to try out for the major leagues. He made it. A big part of that is the father-son relationship he had with his father, because they had a horrible relationship. But his father made sure he came and saw his major league debut and whatever. I walked out of the movie theater like embarrassed. I mean, I was like probably in my early 20s at the time, because I was like tearing up. I walk into the bathroom and all the dads that had just left the movie theater bawling their eyes out. So then I didn't feel so bad.
It's interesting that, like when Dana, when you see a movie about the father-son relationship, it hits you in the heartstrings. When I see that in a movie, to me, it's like listening to some sort of moon language that I can't understand. Like I can't wrap my head around this idea of having that sort of bond with somebody. So yeah.
That's interesting. You guys have
Yeah, no,
very
seriously,
different
like,
takes on that.
You don't have
Which is
that.
actually-
You don't have that kind of bond with your brother and sister.
No,
I mean, what?
but I'm talking specific about that specific bond, right? Like there's a sibling bond, and then there's the father-son bond.
But you
there's
never
the
longed for it.
mother-daughter
You
bond.
never wanted it.
Honestly, I think it's been so long that I've been, on my life path that it's one of those things that I don't even think about.
You
Which is
never think
actually
about it?
never. It's a good segue into my topic for next week, actually.
All right, let's
which I
hear
can
it.
talk about if you'd like. So I thought
Yeah.
next week we would talk about how sibling birth order influences, among many other factors, it's not just birth order, but how that influences our personalities. And that, I can give you a little bit of a background, a rundown, brief summary of where this sort of theory came about and, who studied it. I'll give you a little bit of an idea of what some of the traits are among like the oldest child, the middle, the youngest.
Can't wait.
Sort of explore this idea of you can take siblings from the same home environment and they can come out with, a lot of similarities, but also like radically different, not just personalities, but different paths in life. So I thought that would be a good topic for us to talk about a little bit, and we can see how much of the conventional wisdom about birth order we agree with or disagree with.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Compare ourselves to the stereotypes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. That'll be fun. I like that you're a therapist because you're going to give us different insight, like with like actual facts and, that you have
Yeah.
learned through your studies. I'm excited for that.
And it was, it was Michelle's choice of movie that, in a weird way, got me on this topic.
You're welcome.
And I can explain that next week
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
of how I came to choose this particular topic. So,
Oh no!
What?
I forgot to hit record.
no, you didn't. We're recording.
I'm like, you're recording. I see it.
You ruined my prank.
Well, we got to re-record. Let's go.
Now you guys gotta spend an extra hour with me.
That's fine. We can just record for an extra hour and talk nonsense. It'll probably be gold.
All right, everyone. So stay tuned. We'll come back next week when we talk about Dave's topic of sibling birth order. Until then, I hope everyone has a great week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
SibRiv is produced by DS Entertainment Network and Dana Scott. Your hosts are David Scott, Dana Scott, and Michelle Zaborski. Our theme song is Alone Tonight by Ocean Drive, which can be found on creatormix.com. Be sure to check the description below for links to our social media, YouTube, and Spotify pages. The Sibling Rivalry Podcast uploads a new episode every Monday. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can be made aware every time a new episode drops.